Think of metadata as the envelope of a letter. It's not what's inside, but all the information written on the outside. But it's more than that. It's your call history, your location data, and every interaction you make online. End-to-end encryption is designed to lock the letter itself, keeping your private messages safe from prying eyes. While the content is secure, the metadata, the who, when, and where, remains exposed and tells its own story. Tech companies collect this metadata on a massive scale. They use it to build a detailed profile of your life, your habits, your interests, your relationships. This profile allows them to precisely tailor the ads, news, and videos you see, influencing your digital experience. This massive amount of metadata is the primary food for training artificial intelligence. The AI learns to recognize patterns in human behavior, making incredibly accurate predictions about what you'll do, say, or buy next. It's learning from your digital ghost. Understanding metadata is the first step toward digital autonomy. By managing app permissions and choosing services that prioritize privacy, you can control how much of your envelope is readable. You have the power to decide what your data says about you.
Alright, so let's break this down in the simplest way possible. What exactly is metadata? Most people think that metadata is confusing or super technical, but it is really not. Metadata is literally the data about your data. Think of it like the digital footprints that you leave behind every time you do anything online, anytime you send a message, or anytime you're posting on social media. So, for example, you send a message. The message itself is the content, and that content contains about 20% of the available data, and the metadata is everything else around it, which contains 80% of that information available. It contains who you messaged, when you sent it, from where you sent it, the location, the device you used, how long the app was open, what app you sent it from, who else was online at the time, and even how often you talked to that person. There is also a lot more information collected. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So, an analogy that I like to use for to picture metadata is with the physical envelope. So, say you got a physical envelope, the letter inside of that envelope, your real written message or the contents of that envelope, um, that is what end-to-end encryption protects, but the outside of the envelope still shows the sender, the receiver, the time it was mailed, the return address, the postage mark, and even the weight. So that mailman or the postal worker who is handling that envelope can see all of this without even opening it. That outside information is the metadata, and in the digital world, tech companies collect a lot more of it than you think. And the crazy part about all of this is metadata, in my opinion, is a lot more valuable than the message itself. Because, like I stated, I mean, end to end encryption is obviously important, but like I said earlier, 80% of the available information is stored in that metadata. So, also, why the metadata is a lot more valuable is because it builds a pattern, it reveals your habits, it shows your routines, your relationships, your location history, your interest, and all these big tech companies, they love this because they can monetize it, they can sell it, they can track it, and they can use it for AI training. Now, something that is even more crazy is these big tech companies like Meta, who own WhatsApp, um, even these apps that promote end-to-end encryption, like WhatsApp, Messenger, Telegram, they still collect and expose your metadata. They cannot see what you said in that message due to the end-to-end encryption. So that is indeed working, but the metadata privacy, they can absolutely see everything around what you said. And now, when you jumble all of that metadata together, it becomes a detailed map of your digital life. Sometimes this is even more revealing than if somebody was to take your phone and scroll through all the messages and read them that way. Let me give you another example. So imagine I cannot read your text, but I see that you message the same person every night at 1 a.m. You call this person for 20 minutes and y'all live 12 miles apart and your messages spike on the weekends. I still know that there's a relationship between you two, and that is what metadata is. Governments use it, advertisers use it, AI models use it, data brokers buy it and sell it, big tech stores it indefinitely, and the majority of people never even realize how exposed they are to it. Metadata can show your sleep schedule, your social circle, your location movement, your financial habits, your work routines, your mental health patterns, your risk profile, and your whole entire identity, even if the content stays private. This is why protecting metadata matters. It is not just about hiding messages and end to end encryption, it is about stopping companies from building an entire psychological profile on you without your consent. So metadata protection needs to be a lot more standardized, I believe. Um, and we're working on that towards the future. And a key point that most of these big tech platforms avoid saying out loud is end-to-end encryption does not protect metadata. It only protects the message. Everything around it is still visible. And that gap, the metadata gap, is where big tech fails the hardest. All right. So now that hopefully we have a little bit of a better understanding of what metadata actually is, let's talk about how big tech actually handles this metadata. And this is where things get interesting and sketchy, in my opinion. So these big tech companies are really good at putting the emphasis on end-to-end encryption and talking about how your messages are private and secure, but they almost never talk about metadata. And that's because metadata is their whole business model. Big companies like Meta, Google, Amazon, TikTok, even apps like WhatsApp and Telegram, they all depend on metadata for analytics, advertising, and profiling. The end-to-end encryption protects them from reading your messages, but they can track who you talk to most, how long your conversations last, when you're active, what device you use, what contacts you have, your location patterns, your behavioral rhythms, and how your activity changes over time. This information is not protected by end-to-end encryption, and most platforms don't even try to hide it. They won't even mention it. Even worse, your metadata often gets stored permanently in their servers, not for security, but it's because it's valuable and they can sell it. They can sell it to advertisers or data brokers or even AI companies, and they give it up to governments at the slightest request for it. This is why big tech's versions of privacy is incomplete. You might feel protected because your messages are encrypted, but everything around your message is still exposed. Metadata is the loophole, and right now big tech leaves that loophole wide open. So with all of that out of the way now, that leaves the big question, how do you actually protect your metadata? The truth is, protecting metadata is a lot harder than protecting messages. Providing end-to-end encryption is easy. However, hiding your behavior patterns is a real challenge. In my opinion, it will take a couple of years and a lot of big technological advancements and a lot of privacy companies and communication platforms coming together to figure out this problem and put it into it. But there are some steps that you can take to minimize the data collected by these companies. One of the most important things that you can do to protect your metadata is be careful in choosing the right platforms and services that you use and download on your phone or your PC or whatever. Things like avoid linking your identity to messaging apps. Like find messaging apps that you don't need your phone number or your email or any type of identity to sign up. Um, Use services that randomize or obscure metadata. This includes apps that hide IPs, rotate routing paths, minimize logs, strips unnecessary identifiers, limits timestamps, or stores nothing by default. Um, at the end of the day, protecting metadata is all about decentralization, in my opinion. It is all about reducing visibility. It means using tools that don't rely on your patterns, habits, or behaviors. It means anonymity and minimal data retention. Because the less metadata that exists, the less metadata that can be stolen, tracked, profiled, or sold. So at the end of the day, even though protecting your metadata is not talked about or brought up as much as it should be, and even though metadata might seem invisible, It tells a story. It tells your story. And right now, big tech owns that story more than you do. We're moving into a future where privacy has to go beyond just encrypting messages. It has to protect your patterns, your behavior, your identity, and the invisible trails you leave behind every time you open an app. Because if we don't fix metadata privacy, then end to end encryption is just a slogan and privacy becomes an optical illusion. It will not be real. The next generation of communication, the apps that will actually protect people, won't just hide what you say, they'll hide how you live online. And that's the shift we need to start talking about now. And that is what we need to be building towards a private, secure future for all of us where all of our private lives do not live online. I appreciate y'all for watching, man. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and make sure to tap in for the next video. Peace.